When I do get scared of the unknown, which happens on a regular basis, I like to remember a quote by a famous dancer and choreographer. Her name was Isabel, and she lived in the 20th century. And she said, very simple but true, living is a form of not being sure, not knowing what's next or how. But it's still hard. And it's really hard not to get overwhelmed by societal pressure. There are all sorts of fears of big things like, how am I going to provide for my family? And that's a legit fear. And then there are things like, small fears, like this guy over here, he doesn't really care at all what I'm talking about. And that's also a legit fear, because we all strive to belong and we all strive to fit in. And sometimes our fears feel like real threats to our existence, like, if I don't graduate this semester, I'm going to die. And it really feels that way. But maybe there's a way of not letting that fear completely control our lives. Maybe that fear doesn't have to be the motivator of our actions or decisions. When I was asked to talk for the BolderTalks, there was like this moment of excitement because it's something I've been wanting to do, and then immediately I freaked out. Does that ever happen to you? Like, oh, so excited about something, and then your mind goes, who do you think you are? You really think you can do this? No, you can't. Just like, and it feels like almost this like passion and inspiration and drive is coupled with fear and anxiety and doubt, unless you're Buddha, of course, which I'm definitely not. And so, in some ways it's like just being aware of that combination and being okay with that already is a huge step. When I go to performances or lectures, I look at these people and I'm like, oh, they really have it figured out, like this performer is so brilliant, or their speaker is just, they're telling the truth, and they just have everything figured out. People walked up to me after America's Got Talent saying like, I admire you and I respect you, and honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. So there's this disconnect sometimes that we feel like people around us somehow have everything figured out. And for example, I could look at any one of you right now and say like this woman over here, for example, she has a husband, she's happy, she has 2 kids, she has social security, she has insurance, she's great. Want to know how I know this? Because my mind told me so. And so, that's that poker face that we put on sometimes, My name is Isabel von Rittberg. I'm the artistic director of a dance project. I just moved the dance project from California to Colorado, yada, yada, yada. I don't tell people like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm going to get through this year. I'm not sure how I'm going to pay my dancers. But we walk around with this illusion that, everybody else has it figured out. And, when it comes to big decisions, it's really easy to, rather than do something out of the norm or do something that's not according to the books, to just try to please people around us, like our parents or best friends or spouses. But there's another really good quote I want to share with you, and I think this one should probably go up on our bathroom mirror, I think. It's by Dr. Seuss. I love Dr. Seuss. It goes something like this: say what you mean, act how you feel, because those who matter don't mind, and those who do mind don't matter. And by the way, this is also a really good way of weeding out your friends. Anyways, still acting from a place of passion and honesty can be really hard, and I acknowledge that. It can be difficult, it can have very painful consequences. A year ago, I moved from California to Colorado. I left behind incredible friends, a sweet home, a community that loved my dance. But somehow I also knew that this is what I needed to do. It felt right. It was really hard, but it felt right. When I got here, the idea of starting this dance project without my partner was just way too overwhelming. And I just wanted to hide beneath the covers, and I actually did for a little while there. And then, finally I decided, okay, I'm going to start this search for studio space. I'm actually going to continue this dance project because this is something that I'm really, really excited about. Then I would go to the climbing gym and I would be plugged into my iPod, looking at rock climbers as I'm on the treadmill and watching them, and I'm like coming up with all these ideas for future choreographies, running and writing them down. And so I knew, I hadn't really come to an end with it. And then I got that call from my broker, who had started a conversation with the owner of this building. And the lease seemed incredibly intimidating and very overwhelming, extremely committing, really. But the space here felt so perfect. You know, I walked around and he was like, I mean, this is really raw. We've put a lot of work into this space. And I was just like, you know, the wall and performances and community events and rehearsals and classes. And I just, you know, couldn't help but be so passionate about the space. So I knew that I had to do it. I didn't really feel like I had a choice. And I signed the lease. But this was after 3 months of not knowing, unknown, looking for studio space, not knowing how it's going to work out. And then I signed the lease, and the lease was extremely scary to sign, but I did. And again, there was that unknown. How am I going to make this work? Financially, how am I going to make this space, you know, what I want it to be? But I also find that with age and with time, that I've gained a lot more trust in my decisions and a little more faith in myself. And I guess that's something that I really love about getting older, aside from the wrinkles and all that. It's like you really do start trusting your instinct a little bit more every time. I'm a firm believer that we tend to be really good at the things that we love. I have this story. My friend Melissa, she's a cook, and at a young age she already had all her professors and all her clients convinced that she can find ingredients and just, you know, blow your mind or blow your mouth. Like really incredibly talented cook. There was this one time we were at this potluck and, you know, she handed me this thing and had like a strawberry on top. You know, I don't really care much about food. I don't have time for that kind of thing. But, you know, I took it and I was like, okay, great, I'll try this. She was so excited. She's like, you have to try this thing. So I like, you know, bit in there and I felt like I'd arrived in heaven. It was so amazing. You know, I'm not even exaggerating. It was like perfect, not too sweet, the texture was great. And she saw my eyes. She's like, you know, it was so easy. All I did was a little bit of this and that. It was like her voice was just like somewhere over there. I don't remember anything she said. I was like, oh, this is so good, Melissa. You know, and it's not that for everybody. For some people, it's like being a great mom or being a CEO or assistant, a dancer, climber. It doesn't even matter. But I think really what it comes down to is that we just thrive in whatever makes us, you know, excited, and the things that we are passionate about and the things that inspire us. Ron Kauk, infamous climber Ron Kauk, his son said once in an interview, if you're just being yourself, then you know you're bringing something that nobody else is bringing, because nobody is you. And that's the beauty about being here on this earth, is that you are you, so be it. It's simple, but I feel like there's a lot of truth in that. I used to think that people with 9-to-5 jobs really had it all figured out. It's like, oh, you know, they have the regular income and they feel balanced and secure and everything. But then I've had some conversation with those people, or some of them anyways, and some of them actually do. They have the exact same panic attacks that I do. You know, they do it maybe at lunch break and then again after 5, but they feel the same way. And the fact is that we're living in times of economic insecurity. People have invested millions of dollars in mutual funds and lost a lot of money. I've heard of very competent professionals being let go because there just wasn't a budget for them to stay in the company. And I'm not saying like, oh, might as well just be a starving artist, not at all. But my suggestion is, you know, why not do something that you're passionate about? It doesn't necessarily, we all strive, you know, to have security in our lives, but it doesn't necessarily need to mean that we can't pursue the things that we're passionate about. Again, I think that we're really good at the things that we love.